Media conference. We're here today to talk about the cuts to Legal Aid Ontario's budget. My name is Marion Overholt. I'm the Executive Director of Community Legal Aid and Legal Assistance of Windsor. And with me is Amy Lavoie, who is a staff lawyer at the Bilingual Clinic, and Hugo Vega, who is our chair of the LAW Board of Directors and also works at the YMCA. So this morning we're here to talk about the provincial budget and the impact on legal aid. In the budget on Thursday, the government announced that they would be cutting by 30% the Legal Aid Ontario's budget. Legal Aid Ontario has basically two sections. One, which is the 72 legal clinics like the Bilingual Clinic and Legal Assistance of Windsor, and those clinics, the 72 clinics across Ontario, comprise 21% of the legal aid's global budget. The other part of their budget is spent on their administration costs and the provision of legal aid certificates to people who qualify financially, basically in matters of criminal law and family law. The clinics, our areas of practice, are specifically focused on poverty law issues. So we help people with landlord-tenant, small claims court, helping people access disability or welfare benefits. We provide immigration and refugee services, criminal injuries compensation, and we also provide some services for clients who do not qualify for legal aid certificates and summary conviction offenses, and we do some family law. Our clinic budgets are basically spent on staff wages because we're providing a service. So if a 30% cut is introduced to our budget, we will have no alternative but to lay off staff and reduce the services that we provide to the community. And this is of a great concern because we are helping people access income security, so income assistance when they've been denied welfare benefits or denied a disability pension, helping people maintain their housing and improve their housing, and that's particularly important given the crisis that we have now with affordable housing in this community. Last year alone, our Duty Council program assisted 2,000 people at landlord-tenant court. So it's critical services to keep people housed. It's critical services to make sure they're accessing the rights that they are entitled to. We're concerned about the impact of the cuts because, as the Premier of Ontario says, Ontario needs to be a place where people can grow, and we totally agree. We also think people need to recover because everyone during their life experienced some kind of crisis. And for low-income people, in order to keep them engaged and as active, productive members of our community, they need to be able to access legal services such as the clinics provide. We're particularly concerned because at the same time this budget cut was announced, the province of Ontario has also directed Legal Aid Ontario not to spend any provincial money on refugee and immigration cases. That means instead of spending the $45 million that they have spent in the past on refugee and immigration cases, they will now be restricted to the federal contribution of approximately $16 million. We totally support the province in seeking greater financial assistance from the federal government for that refugee portfolio. But just like 2 years ago when we were facing a crisis, we need to allow the two governments to meet and to negotiate. They solved the problem 2 years ago. I'm confident that they can solve it again. But to say now that we can't take on new cases for people who have no access to legal aid, who have no access to legal assistance when they should be receiving help to go through very complex immigration procedures, that is a travesty. And it undermines the administration of justice in our province, which is a serious consideration. So we're calling on the provincial government to hit the pause button, to reconsider both the cuts and the changes that they're proposing for immigration and refugee work so that we can have some meaningful discussion and find a solution that benefits all of us, particularly the most vulnerable people in our community. I want to turn it over to Amy to make some comments about her work.
Thank you, Marion. So as you know, my name is Amy Lavoie. I am the Senior Staff Lawyer with Windsor-Essex Bilingual Legal Clinic. Before I speak to the impact that cuts to LAO funding will have on small clinics like Marion's and ours, I'd like to provide you with some context as to who we are. Our clinic is often affectionately referred to as LAW's sister clinic. We're a nonprofit legal clinic funded through LAO and independently managed through a board of directors. But we are also a bilingual legal clinic, which means our staff is fully bilingual, and we are mandated to provide legal services in both official languages. As you may know, Windsor and Essex County, along with the entire Southwest region, have a strong Francophone community. These communities are not only comprised of Francophones born and raised in Canada, but also include immigrants from French-speaking countries, and many of whom speak very little English. As Marion has already highlighted, it is clear that the need for high-quality legal services to low-income clients is great. Our own statistics also show a steady growth in the demand for legal representation in various areas of law, including disability, income security, immigration, housing, human rights, and employment. Legal clinics, we are the front line of defense to our most vulnerable community members. If you have never had to access a legal clinic, I can guarantee you that a neighbor, a friend, or even a family member benefited from legal services of a clinic at one time or another. It is inevitable that cuts to the LAO budget will trickle down to our clinic. The ramifications are so far and wide that we can't begin to envision the devastation this could bring to our low-income clients that rely on clinics like ours to protect and defend them. Cuts to clinic budgets will impact our ability to keep the small skeletal staff that we do have. Cuts to our clinic budget will impact our ability to take on clients for legal representation. This is also detrimental to our Francophone community members, many of whom do not speak English, but all of whom are struggling to protect their language rights in Ontario. Cuts to our clinic budget will impact the areas of law that we practice in. And lastly, cuts to our clinic budget may very well impact the innovative programs that both clinics currently have in place. In essence, cuts to the budget and the trickling down effect that it may have to clinic funding are measures that may very well disenfranchise people from access to legal services and access to justice ultimately. So to take on Marion's position, it's important that we take a pause and that we seriously consider the impact and long-term effects that any budget cuts will have to our legal aid system. Thank you.
Thanks, Amy. And now I'll ask Hugo to speak.
Thank you. As the Chair of Legal Assistance of Windsor and as a community member that gets to work with a lot of agencies in our community, I think we really need to keep this focused on the vulnerable people that are impacted by these changes, and that's who this is going to impact the most. It is a critical service in my view that the services that are provided help people maintain the stability that they need to be able to succeed in life. As has been mentioned, in times where most of us will find ourselves in crisis, those supports are essential, and research has shown that the potential of what the savings are in the future for individuals that get proper support up front is significant. This has to be seen also as an investment in our community and in the people that live across Ontario. It's been estimated that $3 to $5 for every dollar that's invested in this type of support is recouped and is saved in other essential services like education and healthcare. And that is critical. People need to be able to survive through these moments in their life, and this is an essential service for that. As far as newcomers, there's a lot of impact that this could have on newcomers, and that is significant too in their long-term success, which a lot of newcomers are incredibly successful long-term, and the stability that they're able to find during these times are able to translate into that success, both as far as their personal health and their stability, but also as far as their contributions to the economy. Those are significant in the long term, and research is very strong with that. So as far as being able to continue these services, we do encourage dialogue, as has been noted. We have been here in the past, and we encourage the government to be able to dialogue through this and understand that this really is about growth of our economy, growth of the health of our society, and that this is really important for us to slow down, to think through the implications, and to work together to be able to make sure that Ontario is able to grow meaningfully through this.